The story of Sohni Mahiwal is one of hope, tragedy and eternal love. Our story starts in the fertile lands of Panjab, near the banks of the River Chenab. One day, a baby girl was born to a family of potters. Such was her beauty, she was given the name Sohni, which means beautiful in Panjabi. As Sohni grew older, she began to assist her father in his work. Using the potter's wheel, he'd mould clay and create cups, plates and large pots such as water pitchers or Garha, like this one. She would then adorn these pots with intricate designs. Once decorated, they'd be sold in a shop which was also their home. Their combined skills and craftsmanship were well known far and wide. Years later, a rich trader named Izzat Baig set off from Bukhara in Uzbekistan. He was travelling on the trade routes through the province of Panjab, and he was told about the crafts created by the potter and his daughter. He decided to buy some of their exquisite earthenware and pay them a visit. When he visited the potter's shop, he saw Sohni working hard, decorating the pots, and in a moment his heart began to flutter. It was truly love at first sight. He yearned to see her again, and he began to make excuses, and every day he would visit the shop to get a glance of Sohni, buying a cup one day and then some pots or plates the next. Over time, Sohni gave her heart to him, and they both fell deeply in love. He continued to visit the shop until his money ran out, but rather than returning to his palace in Bukhara, Izzat Baig took up the job of a servant in the house of the potter. He was tasked with taking out the family's buffaloes out for grazing. Soon, he became known as Mahiwal, the buffalo herder. Sohni and Mahiwal began to meet in secret, but when people began to find out about their relationship, there was an uproar in the community. It was inconceivable that a daughter from the community could marry an outsider, and so her parents immediately arranged for her to be married to another potter. The following day, the marriage ceremony took place, and Sohni was sent off to her husband in a palanquin. She was confused, helpless and lost. Mahiwal, not wanting to hurt the family's feelings, renounced the world and began to live his life as a fakir. He moved into a small mud hut on the banks of the River Chenab, which is situated on the other side of the river, opposite the new home of Sohni. He did this so he may have had the chance of seeing a glimpse of her in the distance on clear days. Soon after, in another twist of fate, Sohni's husband died through a snake bite, and in those days, this meant that she would remain a widow and continue to live her life in the house of her in-laws in lifelong servitude. Her love for Mahiwal had not diminished, and her feelings just, pulled her back into his arms. In the cover of darkness, when everyone was fast asleep, the lovers would meet by the river. Sohni could not swim, and so, being the daughter of a potter, she used a Garha and she turned it upside down. The water pot became her trusted companion, aiding her across the waters and enabling her to meet her lover. It is said that he would catch a fish for her every day, and in the evening he would wait for her to cross the river, and then they would meet on the riverbanks. They would speak about their love for each other underneath the stars. Meanwhile, rumours of their romantic rendezvous spread. One day, Sohni's sister-in-law followed her and spotted the hiding place where Sohni kept her water pot. She then told Sohni's mother-in-law, and rather than confronting her, the women decided to take a dark decision. The next day, the sister-in-law took the clay water pot and replaced it with an unfired one, knowing that it would break up in the water. That fateful night was a terrible stormy one. As Sohni reached for the large clay pot, she noticed something strange. Sohni had lived her whole life working with clay, and she realised that the pot was not fired. She knew that there was a risk that she might not make it, but alas, her love was so strong for Mahiwal that she took the next steps to follow her heart and cross the raging river. It is here that poets recite the heartfelt dialogue between her and her water pot, which was meant to carry her to her beloved. Tragedy struck that night as the pot began to dissolve and crumble. Sohni cried for her beloved to help as she began to drown. She looked to the skies and asked the heavens for help. Mahiwal immediately jumped into the raging river and trying his best he can to reach her. Exhausted, disorientated in the darkness, the lovers' hands finally touched. As they embraced, they both drew their last breath together, reunited in eternity in their passing. In the West, we can compare stories like Sohni Mahiwal to those such as Romeo and Juliet, but unlike many stories from around the world where the man's name comes first in the title and is usually the protagonist, love stories of the Panjab have the woman's name in the beginning. Sohni did not sit around crying and waiting to be rescued by her knight in shining armour. In the end, Sohni was fearless, and she used her love, her passion, and her intense longing for Mahiwal in an attempt to fight all the odds. She died as a warrior of the heart, and her story will live on forever. Thank you.